Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central. And here's your host, Bob Hickey.
And welcome to another fantastic episode of Foxborough Central. I am Bob Hickey, your host, thanking you for taking a little bit of time to join with me and my guests as we talk about the people, events, and organizations that make Foxborough truly the gem of Norfolk County. And I want to thank you for joining me for the special election coverage of the Foxborough Board of Selectmen race. And joining me tonight is Dr. Mark Elfman. Mark, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Pleasure to be here.
I'm going to go with Doc, all right?
Doc is fine.
I think everybody else calls you Doc, so I'm going to go with it. So Dr. Elfman, of course, is running for one of the 3-year seats on the Foxborough Board of Selectmen. 2 seats are available, and you're running for one of them on May 2nd. Everybody's got to get out to vote.
Get out to vote.
So Mark, why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to run?
Well, I want to run. There was an open seat. I had a few friends get together one day and said I would make a great candidate. Before a month ago, probably wasn't high on my list of things I was thinking of, but the more I thought about it, the more I talked about it with my wife, my family, I started liking the idea and started going forward, got a small committee together, see where I could go with it, and we decided to put the papers in.
Okay then. So you've taken the dive into public service the way many of us did, where maybe some folks just got together and started thinking that there might be a better way of doing it. So let's talk about motivation. And there's always a reason why people get involved. And you've been involved with Foxborough for a long time on various committees with the schools, the football programs. So why don't you share a little bit about that? Because everybody loves to hear about experience.
Moved into town and started my practice in 1989. And soon after that, started meeting people in town. And even before I was married and had kids, Chief O'Leary asked me to join a committee and joined the committee. It was the Red Ribbon Awareness Committee. He had seen it done, Red Ribbon Drug and Alcohol Awareness. And he'd seen it done in other parts of the country and got a little ad hoc committee together and formed that. But people getting together, and that's where we bring on the Commons once a year, the Red Ribbon Awareness.
That's right.
So that was one committee that Chief O'Leary asked me to join, and then there was another committee that first started the all-night graduation parties.
Really?
For,
Okay.
My wife, but at the time fiance, and I, again, before we had kids, was dealing blackjack at 1 to 3 in the morning at the first all-night graduation party at the high school. And that was it was a lot of fun. Of course, I got the graveyard shift because I wasn't married, didn't have any kids, and volunteered for that. And that was a great experience. Started the all-night graduation parties, which I've had one son already do the all-night graduation, and another one going to be doing it in a couple of months.
Well, those are very successful and a very important part of the whole graduation season, because without that, there's such a risk. And I know that Chief O'Leary is also on the right side of the bell curve when it comes to making sure that we are aware as a community and take steps to ensure that our young people, I can hear him saying that our young people are safe.
He was the one that, again, brought that committee to Foxborough, and a bunch of people got together and looked around, saw what other communities were doing, and said, hey, we got to do that too. And now it's turned into a wonderful event. People that have taken it over have done a great job. Went from the high school to the Y, and now up at Showcase. And the kids go in. I've never heard a bad thing from any of the kids. They all say what a great experience it is. And we as parents of the graduating seniors feel comfortable that they're in a safe environment.
Yes.
And that's a good feeling.
And that's what we want to feel. So that's absolutely. So Dr. Mark Elfman, of course, is running for Selectmen. Mark, you shared with me the information, so I'm going to go ahead and give it. You are on Facebook, so we can be your friend.
Yes, you can.
We're all allowed to be your friends?
You are allowed to be my friends.
Okay.
Although sometimes I'm not sure what that means, because I'm new into this whole Facebook thing.
You and me both, brother. But we have a lot of pretend friends, but a lot of them are real friends and people who want to get in touch with you. That's one way to do it, which is great. Another way is by email at foxdocelf
Yep.
at gmail.com.
Yes.
I only had to look at my notes once.
You did great.
Thank you very much.
You did great.
So that's foxdocelf at gmail.com, or they can call you on your cell phone. You were very open to me and very easy to get a hold of at 508-846-6606.
A lot of sixes.
A lot of sixes, but it's a good number.
Yes.
Very good. So we had mentioned as we were talking about Chief O'Leary, and I suppose that brings us into some of the events that are going to be facing the town in the upcoming months, years. And I suppose the one that really most of us are aware of is the pending retirement of Chief Ed O'Leary.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know Foxborough without Chief O'Leary
And I don't either.
being our chief.
I've been here since '93, and I do not.
And I heard that he was retiring, and due to various changes in the structure of how I think is it the civil service.
There's a mandatory state law, and then now we voted out at the last special town meeting the police chief's role from the civil service, so it will be a direct hire by the town manager.
And I'm sure the Board of Selectmen is going to have a strong vote in that, and I'd like to be a part of that. And it's a huge change for Foxborough. Chief O'Leary's done a phenomenal job over the last 35, 40 years he's been here, in
In
town.
one capacity or another. Yeah.
In one capacity, I think 32 of those might even be as chief. But he's retiring, and we've got that small town feel with a huge international stadium down at the other end of town. And, that makes for a real challenge for, I think, a chief of police.
It is a unique skill set one
Yeah.
must have to be able to deal with a large venue and yet at the same time understand the suburban rural nature of our community. So sure.
Yeah, so, it would be an honor to be a part of that process, to bring in a chief that, maybe have some other skill sets that we might not even be aware of yet. And that would be a fantastic opportunity for the selectmen in general, and certainly if I'm voted one of those selectmen in this upcoming election, to be a part of that process.
Okay, great. So along with that, there are the usual winds of change and pressures, economic and societal and otherwise. So what do you see being the top one or two issues facing our community in the upcoming year?
Well, I think it's always economic growth. You always want to keep your, at least one eye on where can we grow the community, with business, big business, small business. I'm a small business owner myself, have been since '89, right here in the center, as a matter of fact, just a couple of houses down from the Rotary. And, not only the development of downtown, which has always been an issue, the revitalization of downtown, but also other economic areas we have in town.
And it's interesting, those are now called pods of development, and I'm curious to know your understanding and take, and again, folks, this is not a scripted program. I'm here with Dr. Mark Elfman, who's running for Selectmen, and I'm just a guy off the street, and I just like doing this program, so I like sitting around and talking politics. So what do you make of these pods of development and the master plan, which I know has been a long standing project, and it's been led ably by the Selectmen's Committee. So we're now at the point where there's some implementation. At the upcoming town meeting on May 9th, there's going to be a vote on, I believe it's 10 liquor licenses for our town to stimulate economic growth, which is now possible because of the new regional sewer approach, where Representative Barrows was so key and instrumental in getting the state legislation passed to allow us to have a non-rechargeable discharge from our aquifer. And so now we're partners as opposed to customers. And so that is a huge driver.
Huge.
So it looks like we're on the cusp of something really big. So how do you see this happening?
Well, the whole economic development plan, the master plan, is sort of like a living document. It moves, it changes every year. Things are added in, like the whole sewer issue, and the liquor license issue. The pods, I'm still trying to wrap my brain around that whole pod system. I think it was only introduced, at least through the paper, a couple of weeks ago. So a little bit more of a learning curve. A lot of questions about the pods. I mean, do those liquor licenses stay in that area, or can you switch pods?
You bring up an excellent point, and I think that's something that people will want to know about, because I'm sure there's a strategy. And for those who are paying attention, I'm sure it makes perfect sense, but a big piece of this is communication and sharing. So I think there's a lot of work that has yet to be done to gain full support for that for the upcoming town meeting.
Well, and I think communication is huge. You know, the more we communicate, as a board, the selectmen, as our other boards in town, the communication between those boards, and then trying to disseminate that information to the population is huge. You know, we want to be open. In today's day and age, with everything being televised and Twitter, and I don't even know what Twitter is, but Twitter and Facebook, and information gets around relatively quickly, and you don't want any of that information to be misinformation, because boy, that can be a snowball going downhill real fast. So I think open lines of communications is going to be huge, and that pod system, I think, because it's still new, is one of those things that I think might have to be explained a little bit more clearly as to other ramifications down the road.
Very interesting. So along with that, and you had already mentioned the economic growth, of course, we have a huge economic driver up on Route 1, but with the master plan, there's also the downtown area, there's new development at the former Foxfield Plaza. The Bradley's Plaza is a continuing source of opportunity. So it looks like with Schneider Electric reaffirming their footprint through their commitment to completing the renovation projects originally started by Inventus and the TIFs, and it seems like we're in a really good place. Are you confident that we're all set?
I don't think we're ever all set. I like where we are. I like where we're going. It's a lot different than a few years ago when things were a lot more up in the air. I think the plan that our selectmen had 5, 6, 7 years ago is sort of coming to fruition now, because sometimes when you're on that board, you're pushing that plan forward, but you might not ever see, while you're on the board, that end results, because sometimes things take 3, 4, 5 years. What is it? The bureaucracy runs slow at times, and you just got to let it happen. And
I think one of the fallacies of elected office is that the voters think, well, you're in office, you can make it happen. No, you simply create the opportunity. It's really America's, the businesses and the people who make it happen. So we as government, what is our role? Is it to regulate? Is it to promote? That's a question. And so that, I suppose, is the next question. Where do you see the selectmen's role in that process being?
Well, it's certainly both. You want to steer that ship in the right direction. You were a selectman, and you were probably even, I don't remember what years exactly you were, but you were probably dealing with. It's something you forget about. But you were probably dealing with this whole sewer system. How do you feel, if I could turn the tables, to see that it's come close to fruition, a heck of a lot better now?
Well, it's a phenomenal outcome. It's one that was first visualized back in 2007, 2008. And I mentioned Jay Barrows, and he did a really, really wonderful job of sticking with it, making the necessary contacts, commitments, in the workarounds, because frankly, there was a lot of regulation, red tape, legislative pushback on it that kept what seemed to be a really good common sense approach from becoming reality. And he and the Board of Selectmen here, plus the 3 towns that are partnering, Foxborough, Mansfield, Norton, to create a solution that is workable and something that's going to be a win-win growth. But of course, there's funding, and that's what our current Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners are dealing with now is, okay, now you've got the opportunity, how then do you fund the growth? So there's a lot of pressure still, so it's an ongoing issue, but the opportunity is there, you're right.
It is there now, which is a lot closer than I'm sure when you were on the board. And that's going to happen if I get elected. I'm going to have, be on a board that has certain ideas that might not come to fruition till 10 years down the road, but I want to be at least a part of that, again, who knows how we might be able to develop that Route 1 corridor a little bit more. Would we all love to see, some biotech, some high-tech industry up there? Absolutely. But if we can set the stage now for that to happen 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, it's a win-win for all of us. And I can look back and say, I did my job. We did our job, the 5 selectmen that are on at that time.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think sometimes in government, you're not going to get immediate results. This is for the long run. This is for our kids. This is for making it better. Down the road.
So I'm here talking with Mark Elfman. He is a candidate for the Foxborough Board of Selectmen. We are so most out of time, I can't even believe it. We've been talking here, chatting, and the time has flown. So I'm going to give you the last word. You can share anything you like. While he's gathering his thoughts, I'm going to share that you can always get a hold of Dr. Elfman by friending him on Facebook. You can also email him directly if you have any questions, thoughts, at, I'm going to have to cheat and look at my notes, fox.docelf@gmail.com, fox.elf@gmail.com, or you can call him on a cell area code 508-846-6606. Doc Elfman, it's been so nice that you took the time to come here and talk to us and share with the folks at home. And I know that we're all going to tell them to go vote on May 2nd, presumably vote for you.
I
know
hope
that's
so.
what you want.
Absolutely.
So as they go to the polls on May 2nd to vote for you, what should they be thinking about?
That I'm one of you. I've lived in town almost 30 years now. Both my boys one will graduate in 6 weeks from the Foxborough school system. Another one is in his 3rd year of the pharmacy program at URI. The Foxborough school system did a great job, with both my boys, as they do with all the kids that graduate here. My wife is a lifelong resident of Foxborough. So, we're inundated in this community. We love this community. We love being here. It was never a thought in my mind to keep a practice here and maybe move elsewhere. Always wanted a home office in the community that I worked, and Foxborough could not have been better. But I'm also reachable. Call me. I've already started reaching out to friends and workers and having little talks and, trying to get a feel for what other everyday Foxborough residents would like to see, like myself and my wife and the boys who, all 4 of us now vote. Even the younger one votes now. So
now's a good time to run because they can all vote for you.
I can get 4 votes all at the same time. But, I always have Foxborough, at heart and the best of Foxborough always in my mind. So, I hope people vote for me and vote in general, get out and vote.
There you go. A good message, and I hope you will take it to heart and you will go out and vote on May 2nd. We're very much out of time. I want to thank my volunteers, Betty Travers and Mike Stewart, Paul Beck behind the glass, and Lauren Batar, who puts us on the air, Mike Weber, who makes sure that she does. But none of that matters if you don't go out and vote and participate in the democratic process here in Foxborough on May 2nd. I've been with Mark Elfman, Selectman candidate, 2016. You have a great day, Foxborough. Take care.